Hey everyone. So I just finished the core TCG October 21st, 2023 regional today. So I thankfully, and surprisingly, I made it to 25th place. So this is pretty exciting for me. I got some losses against Belfamon and against the OTK Chimeramon promo Black War Greymon build. But yeah, I made 25th place. I'm excited because I used the exact same Royal Knights deck that I showcased in uh, my previous videos. Um, but yeah, let's look into the deck. I also just got this deck box from Stefan Richardson. I hope that I'm saying the name right, but they are the owner of Zen Dragon Designs. They have this box on Etsy, so this is mainly for Lorcana, the newest Disney TCG. But I was like, oh, cool, this deck box is nice. I really want something with a little bit more flair to hold my cards. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick one up. So on camera, it looks more like a dark purple. Like this whole playmat, like the purples look darker than they actually are. Um, Maybe it's just my modder, but yeah, this is a pretty nice shade. It looks amazing on camera. Not that it doesn't look amazing now, but it just looks really saturated on camera. So either it's my camera or my modder, but yeah, it looks cool. So I picked this box up because I'm very excited for BT15 Apocalypse. So I was like, oh, cool. Apocalypse is the white Digimon. I really like white Digimon. So Eosmon, Mother Reaper, and now Apocalypse. Um, and then purple because of the Gabumon Garurumon line. So this was my plan. I started to build the deck. I got like the Gabumons and stuff, but yeah, now they're limited. But I'm still going to play a Pakalimon purple base. It's just going to be a different deck list than what I imagined before. But yeah, this box is gorgeous. Without further ado, let's look at my 25th place Royal Knights deck. So I did again post this on my channel before, but I will show this deck again and then I'll explain it just differently than I did before. So before I kind of laid everything out, but now I'm just going to go one by one. So let's see what this deck is like. So of course for Kingdrasil 76s, so I actually played with someone in the tournament today, and then they asked me, "Oh, you're not playing Mother Reaper in this build?" And then I thought that they were joking, because I when this deck was announced, my first thought was, oh yeah, let's put Mother Reaper into this deck. Then after I started playing the deck, I was like, yeah, I don't really need Mother Reaper in my build, so I'd rather not have it at all because it just slows you down significantly if you have Mother Reaper as the first egg, or even if it's not like your first egg, you really want the Kingdrasils in the sources so then you can gain memory quickly from your options. But yeah, apparently the one someone that I played against told me that Mother Reaper in Kingdrasil is a thing at their locals. But anyways, let's talk about Kingdrasil. I'm only playing 4 Kingdrasils, because again, Mother Reaper as a first egg loses you a lot of tempo, and just having Kingdrasil, um, like again and again and again, so then you can play your Royal Knight option cards, put them into the ballot area, and then gain that memory earlier than later is pretty good. Um, I have not experimented with Mother D Reaper in Kingdrasil yet, so I don't know. It could be very good, could not be good, but I have not actually tried yet, so I do not know. But yeah, Kingdrasil I only play 4 of. Um, Maybe I will throw in a Mother Reaper at some point just to test it out because I'm starting to get suspicious about it. But yeah, only 4 Kingdrasils at the moment. Breeding, your turn. All of your Digimon can't Digivolve. So as long as this is in the breeding area, you can't Digivolve your Digimon. Breeding your turn once per turn. When a Roll Knight trait Digimon would be Digimon card would be played, you may reduce the play cost by 4. Further reduce it by 1 for each of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. Breeding, start of your main phase, reveal the top card of your Digi-Egg deck and place that card in all of your Roll Knight trait Digimon as this Digimon's bottom Digivolution cards. Inheritable effect. Breeding your turn once per turn. When an option card with the Roll Knight trait is placed in the battle area, gain 1 memory. So this card, basically, you really want to ramp the sources. And then the more that you ramp, the cheaper your Digimon will cost with the Roll Knight trait. So there are several ways to build this deck. You can build it with many different Digimon of unique names. So then that way when you finally get the Omnimon out, then you can bring out a bunch of different Digimon at the same time. For my build, I want to really focus on ramping and for cycling through the cards in my deck. So ramping so that I can get more sources under King Crystal as early as I can. And then cycling so then I can find Omnimon or any other Roll Knights that I want more quickly and more reliably. And then just getting consistent searches for the cards that I really want. So my build is focused on ramping and cycling. Other builds are just focused on putting many different unique named Roll Knights under their sources. But yeah, my build is very much different than other builds. And I am only playing 8 different unique named Roll Knights in my deck. So I'm playing 4 BT8 Magnamon. It has Blocker. That's the only relevant effect on this card because you don't Digivolve, so you don't really make use of the Armor Purge. 7 play cost, 7,000 DP, Blocker. I really like Magnamon because with King Crystal's effect, if you're going first, then you hatch the King Crystal, then start of your main phase, then you place another King Crystal under. So reduce cost by 4 for the topmost King Crystal, and then you reduce cost by 1 for each other source under it. So right away, turn 1, you can reduce source cost by 4 and 1, so you can reduce cost by 5. So being able to play Magnamon for 2 on turn 1 is pretty big. Just being able to put your opponent at 2 right on the get-go, and then it's pretty cheap, so you can just absorb it. Then next turn, you put another King Crystal, put Magnamon under. So now you can reduce cost by 7. So starting from turn 2, basically you can just throw down Magnamon for 0 cost. So just being able to plop this. It can be used as a blocker to stop early game aggression. Or, after turn 2 and onwards, you can just plop this down for 0. This is more, as I like to see it, as a ramping card. So you could play your Mechamons, your Systemon Blancs. They can stay on the field. You can play your Tamers or whatever, and then have those cards on the field. And then whenever you have cards that you would rather play, or you would just want to use a Roll Knight, but you don't really want to play anything else, you can just plop down Magnamon for 0 cost, and then it'll ramp to make your King Crystal bigger. So then that way you can play your Omnimon earlier or any of your other Roll Knights for cheaper. So for BT8 Magnamons, main purpose is just for ramping. And of course, the BT13 Magnamon is just better for the deck overall. So BT13 Magnamon, 7 cost, 7,000 DP, has Blocker. All turns effect when this Digimon would leave play, then you draw 1, and then you can play a Vmon from your hand or from under this card's sources for free. So there are no Vmons in this deck. I know that at my locals, there's someone who keeps joking, oh yeah, don't forget you can play like a Vmon for free. And then I'm not running any Vmons, but after the joking exchange, I am kind of thinking about playing Vmons, but in a different deck, or just a different deck with some jamming Digimon. I'm actually working on something like that right now. So basically the idea that I want for the deck is to be able to get early chip damage in My deck, this build currently focuses on getting chip damage in with Omegamon and System on Blanc. And then that way, since you don't really need to get rid of as much security, you don't really need to bring out 13 different Royal Knights on one turn. Just bring out like 4, 5, 6 different Royal Knights in one turn, and then you can just rush 4 times, and then you're still going to get game. So just playing less Royal Knights, I think, would make this deck more consistent. That's what I'm doing. I like this Magnemon more than the BT8 one, of course, because this one, at least when this leaves play, by going under your Kingdrasil, or when your opponent is deleting it or bouncing it, or however this card would leave the battle area, then you just draw one. Both of them are very good. I play 8 of them just because I really like being able to ramp easily with them. So if I am going first, I really want to see Magnemon in my hand, just so I can play something for 2, and then ramp it under Kingdrasil. And then the earlier that you start ramping, the more benefit that you get from your Kingdrasil, reducing play costs. So pretty much, I really want to see a Magnemon in my opening hand, so I'm playing 4 of each. The more Magnemons, the better, I like to think. And if they are trash in your hand, if they're just like dead cards, then you can just System on Blanc and then get rid of them. Dynasmon, also at 4. So Dynasmon is pretty good, very good for this deck actually. In almost or in all the deck lists I've seen for Royal Knights, Dynasmon is just a must-have 4. BT13 Magnemon is also a must-have 4. So Dynasmon, 10 costs, 11,000 DP. On play effect, reveal top 4 cards of your deck. Add a card with Lucimon in their name, or add 2 cards with Lucimon in their name, or Royal Knight trait among them to your hand. Trash the rest. So in this deck, basically just reveal 4, add 2 Royal Knight trait cards in your hand into your hand, because I don't play Lucimon name cards, and then trash the rest. Your turn effects: when you play another Digimon with Lucimon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, delete all of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So this card is good because, 1, you are able to dig through your deck. And then the more cards that you actually look, the better the chances of finding the Royal Knight that you want. So even though you do like +2 with this card, but it's even better that you look at the top 4 cards, decide, oh yeah, I don't really want these, or oh cool, this is the card that I'm looking for, but it's 3 cards under. Then you can look through your deck, cycle through the top 4, and then grab 2 pieces. So this card gives you card advantage, helps you find your key pieces quicker, earlier. So this card is just good. The ability to delete your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, like all of them, when you play out another Royal Knight, is just icing on the cake. So this is also another reason why I like to play the Magnemons. So if I use my cost reduction effect for the turn on Dynasmon, I really want to be able to play a different Royal Knight, but I don't want it to be too expensive. So just playing one of these 7 cost Magnemons from my hand, so that when I play Magnemon, even for the full 7 cost, it will be able to proc Dynasmon's effect and then board wipe their level 4 and under Digimon. So Magnemon is good for early game ramping, and also for just playing it to trigger Dynasmon's effect. Technically, you can use any other Royal Knight, but just because Magnemon is the cheapest, I like to use Magnemon after using the cost reduction for the turn on Dynasmon. You could also Dynasmon and then Royal Knights. You can also use Royal Knights of the Purge to bring out Dynasmon, and then after Dynasmon is now in play, then you play any of your other Royal Knights, and then you can use the cost reduction on that one. So then that way Dynasmon is on the field, you play a different Royal Knight, and then Dynasmon's effect triggers, popping their level 4 and under Digimon. So Dynasmon is good at field control, good at card advantage, and cycling through your cards. So this card is just amazing. So I'm playing System on Blancs. I'm playing 4. So my deck focuses on the Gankomon. Focuses on Gankomon a lot. So I will get to Gankamon in a bit, but just having 4 System Blancs, I find that 4 is pretty good. I sometimes did also consider adding in more System cards, so then that way I can play them out with Gankamon. But System Blanc is very good for the deck. So on play, by trashing 1 card in your hand, draw 2. So again, just because I am playing some duplicates, for example, if I have several Magnamons in my hand, I don't really need several Magnamons in my hand. Then I can just System Blanc on play, trash a Magnamon that I don't need. Or any other card that I do not need, then I can just on play, System Blanc, get rid of it, and then draw 2. So System Blanc, again, is to cycle through the deck. One of the weaknesses of Royal Knights is that Omnimon is basically the win con. So you really want to find Omnimon. So just having more cards to cycle through the deck is what you really need. I also like System Blanc because, again, I'm not playing a whole bunch of different Royal Knights. I'm only playing 8. So I do want System Blanc to go onto the field, and then it's not a Royal Knight, so it doesn't leave and then go under Kingdrasil at the start of my turn, start of my main phase. So I can just keep this on the field, attack, get that early chip damage in. So their 5 security becomes 4. If I have System Blanc and Omekamon, then I can just keep whittling them down. So then this way I can have fewer Royal Knights come out and then still be able to go for game. It also has Decoy Red and Black. One, I have Royal Knights and traits out on the field, but this doesn't really come up. Mainly this is here just to cycle through my cards, being a cheap 3-cost Digimon, and then also just getting that early chip damage. This combos very nicely with Gunkamon and Omnimon, but we will get to that when we get to those cards. So Omekamon, very good card. I play 4 of in my deck, again because I really rely on that early game chip damage. So 4 cost, 4000 DP, on play, draw 1. On deletion, place 1 Digimon card with the Royal Knights trait from your hand as the Bomb Digivolution card of one of your Kingdrasil 76 in the battle area. So on play, you draw 1 card, so again, pretty good at getting you deeper into the deck. So the card advantage is good, but just being able to slowly draw or cycle, drawing effects and cycling effects are good just because you really want to find the Omnimon. The on deletion is also good, so it's only 4000 DP. Again, I really want to focus on chip damage, so as soon as I am able and as often as I'm able to, I usually just swing with Omekamon. One, if I swing, then I get the chip damage, so that's good. But if this is deleted, then I can ramp up my Kingdrasil by placing a Royal Knight from my hand under it. So I can really easily reduce play costs of my Royal Knights. So if I have enough cards in my Kingdrasil for 9 reduction costs, and then I have Omekamon, I swing, and then Omekamon is deleted on that turn. I place a different Royal Knight under. Now suddenly I can reduce by 10 instead of 9. So just getting that Omekamon to die early is good for the deck because, again, the more sources they have under Kingdrasil, the more benefit that you will reap turn after turn after turn. Okay, let's talk about Omnimon. Omnimon is 14 play cost. In my deck, a 4 of definitely. In all the Royal Knight decks I've seen, Omnimon is definitely a 4 of. The reason is because Omnimon basically is the win con of the deck. 14 play cost, 14,000 DP on play, so you can choose one of 2 different on play effects. So 1, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon. If you do not do that, then you can instead use the effects that everyone pretty much knows. So you can play one of each Digimon with the Royal Knight trait and different names from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying their cost. When a Digimon is played by this effect, trash your Digimon in the breeding area and all of your Digimon gain rush for the turn. So there are several things about this card that I really love. So if your opponent has a threat on the field and you're like, oh, I would love to get rid of that thing, they can just on play Omnimon, even if you don't really have too many sources under King Drasil, or if you just really want to get rid of it rather than bringing out all the Royal Knights that you have under King Drasil, then you can. So this is pretty good removal. Most likely this will come in for 7 or fewer cost. So this is basically a Gaia Force that's really cheap. Or, you can just bring out all of your Digimon, and for the rest of the turn, all of your Digimon have Rush. So even Digimon that you just play. So this is why Sistermon and Omekamons are just so plentiful in my deck. Just so then once I finally get this Omnimon out for its effect that gives all of your Digimon Rush and brings out your Royal Knight Digimon, then if you play a Systemon or if you play an Omekamon for very cheap, then you can also get an extra swing out of them. So this is fantastic. Definitely 4 of. And now let's talk about... Oh, it's not Gankomon yet. Gankomon will come later. So I'm playing 4 from Master to Disciple. So this might be weird, but I love this card. Absolutely, I love this card. So main effect, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card of Huckmon, Sistermon, or Royal Knights in its traits among them to your hand. So a Huckmon card, Sistermon card, or a Royal Knights card. You can also grab Royal Knight options because they have Royal Knights in their traits. And then you add that card to your hand and then you trash the rest. So usually this just helps me immensely by cycling through the deck. Because again, sometimes you just want the Omnimon, but the Omnimon could be like 5 cards down, 7 cards down, 8 cards down, whatever. But just being able to look at the top 3, if there's an Omnimon, cool, you can take the Omnimon. If there's not an Omnimon, then you're 3 cards closer to the Omnimon. So just being able to cycle through the deck, looking for the Royal Knights that you want, trashing the rest is very good. I also like it because this is a Royal Knight option card that you place into your battle area. So Royal Knights of the Purge, also Royal Knight option card that you place in the battle area. People don't really use this card, but I think this card is amazing. So when you place into the battle area, it triggers the inheritables of your King Drasil. So once per turn, your turn, when an option card with the Royal Knight trait is placed in the battle area, gain 1 memory. So when you use this card for 2 memory, and then you have like 3 King Drasils in your inheritables, then you can gain 3 memory back. So you use for 2, you gain 3, so you gain a net 1 memory. So this is basically a Hammer Spark, but then you also cycle through your deck, you grab the card that you need, and then you trash the rest, but you get closer to Omnimon. So it's a Hammer Spark that gives you the next few cards that you need. So this is fantastic. Security effects, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 card of Huckmon or Sistermon in its name, or Royal Knight in its traits among them to your hand, trash the rest, then place this card in your battle area. So basically the security effect is the exact same as the main effect, as if you would use this from hand. So same effect, just look at the top 3, grab whichever Royal Knight or Sistermon card you need, trash the rest, place into battle area. So this card is just good. I play 4 of them just because I think that this card is amazing. Royal Knights of the Purge, the other Royal Knight delay option card. So Royal Knights of the Purge, 6 cost, or 6 cost, and then main effect, draw 1, and then you can place 1 Royal Knight from your hand under your King Drasil 76's sources in your raising area. So this card is good because you use this for 6, you draw 1, so you can get closer to the Omnimon or whichever Royal Knight you need. So just being able to draw or cycle through your deck is pretty big for this deck. So you can draw 1 and then place a Royal Knight from your hand under King Drasil. So being able to cycle and also being able to ramp up your King Drasil is very good. Main delay effects, you may play 1 Royal Knight trait card from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying the cost. The on plays don't activate, but it gains rush for the turn. So again, if you have the Dynasmon, then you can just delay this, bring out Dynasmon, play out a different Royal Knight, reducing cost. So then that way, Dynasmon will be able to proc and then delete your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So that's very good. You could also use this with the BT13 Gallantmon. So I know that, Psychmon is a problem for this deck. So Royal Knights of the Purge is very good. So when you bring out BT13 Gallantmon, its on play doesn't activate, so it won't delete the Psychmon. But since it has Rush, and then when attacking, the when attacking is the same as the on play. So you attack with the Gallantmon, and then when attacking effect, delete 6,000 DP or less. If nothing is deleted with this effect, delete 13,000 DP or more. So this option is just very good for comboing with the BT13 Gallantmon, so then you can get rid of Psychmon or whatever Digimon that's 6,000 or less or 13,000 or more that you want to get rid of. Now we have 4 Marcus Daemons. So Marcus Daemon, 5 cost Tamer. Start of your turn if you have 2 or fewer memory set to 3, so he's just a memory setter. On play effect, you may suspend this Tamer. All turns when this Tamer becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP for the turn. And then if you have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name, you gain 1 memory. But again, I'm not playing any of those. So the memory gain I will never get. But just being able to play this for 5 to get rid of an opponent's Psychmon. So play this for 5, on play suspend, then you minus 3,000 DP to one of your opponent's Digimon. So being able to get rid of their low DP rookies is pretty nice. So you get rid of their Digimon, and you also get a memory setter for 5 memory. So even if you don't gain that memory back, it's very good. I'm playing 2 Hero Monokawas. So Hero Monokawa, I know that someone asked me, "Oh, you're playing Hero," or like several people asked me, "Oh, you're playing Hero Monokawa." That's strange. I've never seen people use Hero Monokawa in this deck list because my deck list is very strange, stranger than like the usual one. So I'm playing 2 Hero Monokawas because I want some additional sources, red sources, so then I can use from Master to Disciple. So basically, Hero Monokawa is here just so that I can more reliably play from Master to Disciple, because that option is really good in my opinion. Start of your main phase, start of your turn if you have 2 or less memory, set your memory to 3. And then your turn effect, if you attack with a level 5 or higher Digimon, you can suspend Hero to give one of your Digimon 2,000 DP. So it could come up, especially when you have that board with all your Royal Knights and you want to swing, and then they have a blocker or whatever, then you can actually use the Hero. So it might come up. I don't use it Hero Monokawa for that reason. But just because Hero Monokawa is like the only red memory setter with an applicable effect, aside from Marcus Daemon, then I was like, oh, cool, let's throw in some Hero Monokawas just for the red sources. And this is also why System on Blanc count is very high, the max. So then this way, if you have Hero Monokawa or Marcus Daemons or extra Magnamons in your hand, or if you have extra Royal Knights of the Purge or extra from Master to Disciple, then you can just easily play System on Blanc for 3, pitch whatever extraneous card that you need, and then just draw 2. And this deck is just very easy to know which cards you need and which cards you don't need, because if you already have a Marcus, you don't need to play the Hero, so you can just System on Blanc, get rid of the Hero, draw 2. Or if you have a bunch of Magnamons, 2 or 3 Magnamons in your hand, you don't really want to play them, you can just System on Blanc, discard the Magnamons, draw 2. Whichever cards you don't need. It's very obvious, in my opinion, when you're using this deck. I'm playing 3 Gankamon. I am also debating if I should bump Gankamon up to 4 because Gankamon is just really good. So 13 play cost, 13,000 DP, blocker, on play effect. When without paying the cost, you may play one Digimon with Sistermon in its name from your trash, or one Digimon card with the Roll Knight trait from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area. You just can't play Omnimon or Gankamon with this effect. So notice how Roll Knights of the Purge, the delay option card, you do not activate the on play of the Digimon played by that effect, but Gankamon you actually can. So you just can't play out another Gankamon or Omnimon because it would just get really crazy if, Gankamon is here, then you play Gankamon, and then this Gankamon will play out this Gankamon, and then this Gankamon will play out this Gankamon, and this Gankamon plays out Omnimon. It would just be too crazy, so I understand why they restricted this. Why this effect is restrictive, I should say. So, yeah, you can play out whichever Roll Knight you need. So if, for example, you need Dynasmon for searching, you can bring back out Dynasmon. If you want to play another blocker, then you can bring out another Magnamon. If you want to bring out the Gallantmon BT13, it has that on-play effect and the rush effect, then you can, so you can delete your opponent's Digimon, or at least get that swing in if you want the extra swing. You can play out Alphamon, you can just play out any of your Roll Knights that you want. If you really want to reuse their effect, then you can. So this card is just good. You can pick whichever effect you've already accumulated, play that Digimon out, and then use that effect again. When endgame, when you have that Omnimon out and you play out Gankamon from the sources, and like you already trashed the rest of the sources, then you can't really play another source of Gankamons on play because there's no more egg in the raising area. So this is where Gankamon comes very handy with Sistermon. So because I'm playing 4 Sistermon Blancs, then when I on-play this, after I've played out the Omnimon, all my sources in raising are just gone. Then because I'm playing 4 Sistermons, then most of the time when I play this out, I can bring back Sistermon. And again, because Omnimon's effect to give rush is lasting for the whole turn, even if you played Sistermon from the trash and it wasn't present when Omnimon was played, or wasn't played from Omnimon's effect, then that Sistermon will also have rush. So just having Gankamon so you can reuse your cards, or even with comboing with Sistermon so you can get that extra swing from Sistermon, is pretty good. So Gankamon, I've noticed some people use Examon because they want the extra swing. The equivalent of that for my deck is just using Gankamon so that I can get Sistermon for the extra swing. So Gankamon is just good. I am questioning if I should increase this up to 4, just because I really like being able to use my effect over and over again, and just getting more Sistermons for swing. So this card is just amazing. And it's also a blocker. So even if you don't need to bring out a Roll Knight card, you can just plop this down, and then you have a 13,000 DP blocker, and then bringing Magnamon out, you have 13,000, 7,000 DP blocker. You can actually live a turn if you're about to lose, if it happens. But Gankamon, very good. But again, Sistermon Blanc, 3 costs, Omekamon 4 costs. So that way, if I have a bunch of memory, even after playing Omnimon, if I have enough, I can just play one from hand and then swing at my opponent with rush. I think this is 3. Okay, I remember what this is. Okay, so Gallantmon, BT13. I'm only playing 3 at the moment. This card is very good. 13 play cost, 13,000 DP. When you have no Digimon in play, when you would play this card from your hand, reduce cost by 2 for every 5 cards in all trashes. So between you and your opponent, if there are 5 cards in trash, you would reduce cost by 2. If there are 10 cards in the trash collectively, then you would reduce cost by 4, etc. So this card is just very good. There's not too much trashing. However, I am playing more on the trashing side. So there is Dynasmon, there's 4 Sistermon Blancs, there is the From Master to Disciple, You can even delay the Master to the Disciple if you need to add to the trash count. Um, but yeah, this deck does have some moderate amount of trashing. But even if you don't trash enough, because the game is going to be ending soon or whatever reason, then you can stack this with the Kingdrasil effect to reduce cost. So if your Kingdrasil can reduce something by 11 costs, but you and your opponent have 5 or more cards in trash, you can just play this, reducing cost by 2 from its own effect, reducing cost by 11 from Kingdrasil's effect, play this for 0, and then now you have access to the on play when attacking and rush abilities. So on play, delete something, 6,000 or less, 13,000 or more if nothing's deleted. Then when attacking, do the same thing again. So this card is just good for closing out the game, um, assuming that you weren't able to do so before, and like you really need something to hit the opponent with. Just being able to rush for cheap or for 0 is just good. Also, just being able to delete something is good too. So in the case of Psychmon, I mentioned this before, you can roll Knights of the Purge and then put this card under your Kingdrasil, and then for net 3 memory, that's a very good effect, because the turn after, you can just roll Knights of the Purge, bring out Gallantmon, and then Gallantmon on, when attacking, you swing and then delete the Psychmon. So, sometimes you just want to use Royal Knights of the Purge because it would ramp up your Kingdrasil anyways, but you don't really want to use its purging effect or the delay effect right away, so you can save it. And if you save it, then you can just like bring out Gallantmon whenever you need. So that's pretty cool. And then these last 6 cards, I know that 2 of them are pretty good for the deck, 4 of them are splashes, but let's talk about them. So Lord Nightmon, I'm playing 2 of. Lord Nightmon 12 cost 11,000 DP. On play, then you can grab a Roll Knight trait card from your trash to your hand. So this is good. So if you, for example, played out a Gallantmon and then your opponent got rid of your Gallantmon, or if you played out an Omnimon for the deletion effect to delete something and your opponent got rid of it, so they're no longer in your sources, or if your Digimon is from security, they got attacked, or like they battled the security Digimon and then the security Digimon is in your trash, and then you want to retrieve it for whatever reason, your Roll Knight is in your trash, you want to retrieve it, you can just play Lord Nightmon, grab the Omnimon that was hit in security, for example, and you really want the Omnimon. So you can just play Lord Nightmon, grab whatever Roll Knight trait card that you need. You could also grab from Master to Disciple or Royal Knights of the Purge if you want, because they have Royal Knights in their traits. But I just generally find myself using this specifically if I really want to find Omnimon, so I can just use this to grab the Omnimon. That's usually what I use it for. Sometimes I can also grab the BT13 Gallantmon with this. I find that those are 2 of the better targets to grab with this card. But yeah, this is pretty good. And then opponent's turn, once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks, gain 1 memory for each of your Digimon with the Roll Knight trait. So, assuming that things did not go well, and then you've played out your Omnimon, you have a board of Roll Knight Digimon, and you weren't able to close out the game for whatever reason. Maybe you're playing against Seccon, and like they keep recovering, so you couldn't really finish the game that turn. Or maybe they have some blockers or something that is preventing you from winning that turn. Maybe you're playing against a different Roll Knight deck and they have Alphamon, then you can't attack with play cost 10 or higher. But for whatever reason, you have a board of Roll Knight Digimon, and if you have this thing out, then your opponent, when they attack, they could be losing 5 memory, 6 memory on the swing, because like you have 6 different Roll Knight cards out. So it's like, oh cool, this card is mainly used to retrieve Omnimon if it is sent to trash, or Gallantmon if it's sent to trash. But if it does come up, like you can't win the game that turn, then Lord Nightmon is just there to prevent your opponent from being able to swing with you more than once, basically. So I'm playing 2 Alphamons. So these are more of the splashes too. So Lord Nightmon is kind of a splash. Alphamon is kind of a splash. So 12 play cost, 12,000 DP. On play, you can place one Digimon card with Roll Knight and its traits from the trash as this Digimon's one Digivolution source. And then all of your opponents 10 play cost or higher Digimon can't attack. Play cost 10 or higher can't attack you until the end of their turn. So they can still attack your Digimon. They just can't attack you. So this is pretty useful against Raid, for example. So if you have Alphamon, you place a source under Alphamon, then your opponent wants to raid, they can't because they would have to declare something else as a target. And then if you have no other Digimon or if they can't attack you, so if you have no other Digimon, then they can't attack at all, so they can't raid. I actually won a game because I had Alphamon. I was like, should I use Alphamon? Should I not use Alphamon? Sure, let's go for Alphamon because my opponent has a level 5. They'll probably Digivolve to level 6, and then they'll probably attack me next turn. So let's stop that if I can. So I actually used Alphamon, and it actually did save me. My opponent said that they would probably have won next turn if I did not play the Alphamon. I played a different Digimon. So they didn't say that exactly, but I kind of understood the combo. So if I played something else, then they would have raided, pierced for 3 checks, and then unsuspended with a BT12 or Greymon swing for 3 more checks, and then Blitz Omni for game. So I won that game because I used Alphamon as the Digimon that I want to use. If I used a different Digimon, I would have lost. Or if I instead did not play out any Digimon that turn, I also would have won. Because they wouldn't have been able to unsuspend. But, Alphamon was still pretty good if you want to stop your opponent's Digimon from attacking. And I learned from playing today that Alphamon is actually pretty good. It never really came up at locals. But, yeah, it actually came in handy today. Jesmon, 11 play cost, 11,000 EP. So this card is pretty good. So on play, delete a combination of your opponent's Digimon adding up to 6,000 DP. So if they have a 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, you can delete all of them if you want. You can delete 2 of them or you can delete 1 of them. So someone actually told me that I had to delete all of their Digimon to fill up as much of the maximum DP as I could. And then after, I was like, do I really have to? And then they were like, yeah. But then after the game, I looked up the ruling. You don't have to do that at all. Which I kind of wish that I knew before, but, I didn't really question it that much. But, if you can delete up to a maximum of 6,000 DP, so you can, as long as if there's one eligible target, you choose one. At least one. But, this card is also pretty good because that's if you on play this, and then this is your only Digimon on the field. For every other Digimon that you have in play, add 2,000 to the maximum DP that you can delete with this effect. So if you have 2 Digimon if you have a Digimon already in play, you play this so you can delete up to 6,000, 8,000, so you can delete up to 8,000 DP of your opponent's Digimon. So if you, for example, have a whole bunch of Roll Knights on the field, then you can delete something 6,000 plus 2,000 for each other Roll Knight. So if you have 5 other, or like 5, you can delete for every other Digimon, then you add 2,000. So if you have 5 other Roll Knights, and then you just play Systemon from the Gakumon effect, so you have 6 other Digimon. So 6,000 plus 12,000, so you can delete something adding up to 18,000 DP. So you could delete a 12,000 Digimon, you can delete a 6,000 DP Digimon, or whatever combination you want. So this is just pretty good. It's also on the cheaper cost of the Roll Knights, so it is 11. So I think that it's more cheap compared to the other ones. So even early, if your opponent has a rookie or a champion out, it doesn't feel bad to just play this card. So then you can delete their Digimon, take away a bunch of their tempo, and then just ramp with it next turn. So yeah, this card is pretty good. Very good. And then all turns, for each of your other Digimon with Systemon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, all of your Digimon get plus 1000 DP. So again, if you're playing out a whole bunch of Digimon with Omnimon's effect, all of your Digimon gain plus 1000 for every other card, for every other Systemon or Royal Knight besides Jesmon. So if you have 5 other Royal Knights, you play out a Systemon from Gankamon's effect. So you have 6 other Royal Knight or Systemons, then all of your Digimon gain a plus 6000 DP buff. So it's very nice. So it does sometimes come up, but just being able to delete your opponent's Digimon is a very nice effect to have. So yeah, this was my deck profile video. I might change some ratios because, I feel like some cards are better than I thought that they were. For example, I knew that Jasmine was good. I had considered bumping this up. Like 2 is okay. I would love to see this card more. So I might increase the ratios for Jasmine. I'm considering playing around the ratios for Lord Nightmon and Alphamon. Lord Nightmon I like because I can retrieve a card if it's sent to trash. Alphamon I am kind of debating about because I can stop my opponent's high play cost Digimon from attacking me for a turn. So like both of them seem okay. But there might be some better Digimon that I can put in. Galtmon is pretty good. I don't think they need to run a full 4. I think that 3 is okay. Gankamon, maybe I need to run 4, but 3 seems okay for the moment. And then with the Marcuses, I definitely like having 4 Marcuses. I know that some people only play 2 Marcuses because they don't really rely too much on Marcus, but just getting rid of Psychmon is what I really want to try to do with this deck, because Psychmon will just disrupt my whole strategy. Just having more Marcuses will help me to get rid of Psychmon. However, I think that maybe if I add in Crimson Blaze or something, then I don't need to run as many Red Tamers, especially Hero Monokawa. I like Hero because I like From Master to Disciple. But, if I took out Heroes, maybe if I experiment with Crimson Blaze, that might also be a good choice for the deck. Royal Knights of the Purge, you don't really need to see many of these during your game, but just being able to see one when it would be useful is probably why I run 4. So again, just being able to ramp early is pretty good. And also just cheesing out the BT13 Galtmon for its 1 attacking effect is pretty good too. From Master to Disciple, again, you probably won't be playing this often because you can only gain the 3 memory once per turn. So between From Master to Disciple and Royal Knights of the Purge, if you use one of these option cards, only the first occurrence on your turn will proc the memory gain. So you don't really want to play From Master to Disciple in the same turn, unless you are playing it specifically to look for Omnimon. But if you have multiple of these cards in hand, you can just pitch them away with System on Blanc. But I just like running them at 4, so then I can use them when I need to use them. So just being able to see them is why I'm running 4. Omnimon at 4 for the same reason, because you really want to find Omnimon. This is your win con. It's good at deleting something, so it's basically a cheap Gaff or just being able to rush out and then swing at your opponent to end the game. Omekamon, just because I really want to cycle through the deck and also to ramp up Kingdrasil, and also just for the easy early game security checks. System on Blanc, also to cycle, and also for the security checks. This combos with the Gankamon just being able to have an extra body for an extra swing when I am trying to finish the game. So I don't really try to finish the game with the Omnimon, and unless I know, I feel comfortable enough, or if I don't do this, then I'm probably going to lose. But just having an extra body. So even if I'm able to play out 4 Royal Knights, and then They have 3 security, and I can get 4 checks in. Just having an extra Systemon that can be brought out from Gankamon's effect, or just being able to play Systemon for 3 as an extra swing on the same turn is pretty nice. So it's just extra assurance that you will be able to get through the security cards. Dynasmon, very good for trashing cards to help with the Gallantmon, trashing cards to help with the Lord Knightmon, or on play to just add cards to your hand, cycling through the deck. This is also good for being able to get rid of your opponent's level 4 and under Digimon, so this is just a very good card for board wiping. I usually roll Knights of Purge to bring this card out, play out a Magnamon because Magnamon is cheap, or just play out basically any Roll Knight so they can delete your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. BT13 Magnamon, because it's cheap, you can play this for as little as 2 memory on your first turn, and then you will just basically play this for 0 afterwards. But again, if you want to play this for 7, you can after dropping Dynasmon down for reduced costs, so you can just board wipe your opponent's level 4 and under Digimon, and then this draws a card when this leaves play. And then 4 Magnamons from BT8. It's not the same as a BT13 Magnamon because besides blocker on both of them, this one is basically the vanilla version. So the BT13 one is better for the deck. Like if you had a choice between BT13 Magnamon and BT8 Magnamon, and this does happen often because Dynasmon you have to choose 2, trash the rest, or from Master to Disciple, you choose 1, you trash the rest. So you will have to decide between BT13 Magnamon or BT8 Magnamon. BT13 Magnamon is always the winner. Whenever I'm searching, I have to choose between the 2. So even if I'm taking a mulligan, I probably would not mulligan if I have at least one of these Magnamons in my opening hand. But if I had a choice, I would rather have the BT13 Magnamon in my hand than the BT8 Magnamon. But they are still good. This one's just better. But this being worse than the BT13 Magnamon doesn't undermine it for what it does for the deck. So just being able to come out for cheap, being a cheap blocker, most of the time being able to be played for 0 anyways. So you can just ramp up your Kingdrasil. Ramping is a huge part of the deck. So even if it doesn't give me that draw 1, just having it so that I can ramp the Kingdrasil to reduce further play cost by 1 is just so good for the deck. People before have asked me why I don't use Leopardmon. I don't really like Leopardmon, or I didn't build my deck to be played with Leopardmon, I should say. So Leopardmon can be good, just not built for this deck, so I didn't really accommodate Leopardmon into the deck. I have enough ramping from the Magnamons already. I have, a good amount of blockers, so I didn't incorporate Leopardmon to be used in this deck. It just doesn't work for this deck style, for this deck build. So I'm not using Leopardmon, I'm not using Ulforce, I'm not using Contourusmon, I'm not using Craniamon. So basically, I just chose the Royal Knights that I thought would work for my playstyle. So I'm not using Ulforce, Leopardmon, Kentauros. I might be missing... I think I'm missing 1 or something. Or maybe several, but... Examon. Yeah, I'm not using the full 13 lineup, but I don't really need the full 13 lineup because my deck it fits my playstyle. I just like rush decks, just getting that early chip damage with Systemon Blancs, Omegamons. That fits my playstyle a lot more. And then because I get that early game rush in, then I don't really need to swing at them with too many Digimon. Just swing with them at 4. With 4 or 5 Digimon is just like good enough. It's like so good. As long as you reduce the security to 0 and still be able to get that check-in, like this deck works for me. My goal with the core TCG tournament was to be able to make top placement and then being able to be featured on the official Digimon Facebook page. So then they would showcase my deck list, and then I wanted people to look at it and be like, wow, why is he using From Master to Disciple? Why is he only using 8 Royal Knights? Like, I wanted people to see this deck. But, you know, maybe one day. But now that I've got 25th place, I feel like, oh, cool. I can actually show people more of this deck and the playstyle of this deck. And in the future, I will be uploading my tournament matches. So thankfully, all my opponents today, they were fully on board with me recording and uploading the rounds to YouTube. So I just need to edit some things like the wait times and then putting the segments together. So I need to do that. But, you know, that video should be up in the next week or two. I also have some previous tournaments I need to upload too, so I need to get on that. But yeah, this was pretty fun. I've had some pretty nice matches today, some pretty interesting people. I lost against, you know, the Balfamon and then the OTK Black War Greymon promo deck. But I think that this deck does pretty well. I might do some slight adjustments, but this is basically what the end result of this deck list looks like. And I will also work on a jamming Roll Knight deck list in the future. I am very excited about that video, so stay tuned.